Shalawama, I'm Dr. Yasapa, and today we're going to talk about bravery and courage. This is probably one of the most important topics that people have to deal with today, given the current environment. So, due to that, I'm going to read a document called the Declaration of Independence, 1776, where people were forced or put in a very similar situation. And some of you all think that these were all, connotatively speaking, white people. That is not correct. That's far from the truth. So now let's take a look at this example of courage in history. That is a tradition, okay? So the United States of America was built on this tradition, this mindset. So let's go ahead and read it. All right. The Declaration of Independence, 1776, in Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. Now, note here, United is lowercase, States is uppercase, America is uppercase. So if you don't know what that means, you should come to the class on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will learn this kind of information. So let's get into the first paragraph. And I'm not going to do any commentary, I'm just going to read it so the video doesn't get removed. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impelled them to the separation. Next paragraph begins here. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Notice that the right, capital R, not lowercase r. That has meaning. If you don't know, you need to come to the Saturday class, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give me 1 second, y'all. Hold on. All right, I'm back. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, not unalienable, unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Also, happiness can be replaced with property. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Now you see the purpose of government, right? That to secure these rights, not give the rights, but to secure the rights. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. Let me read that again for y'all who didn't understand that. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers, so the governments are getting their powers deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So it's not the government who gives itself power, the people give the government power through their consent. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right, capital R again, capital R, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Safety and happiness, or safety and property, right? Now, if you didn't understand that, go back and listen to this recording again, to this video again. So let's continue. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, are more disposed to suffer. Are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. So here we are. Let's scroll this up. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient suffering of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Let's continue. All right, I lost my place. Okay, here we are, we'll scroll up. Oh, let me catch my breath. All right, so let's continue. Speaking of the king, he has refused his assent to laws. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their own operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those peoples would relinquish the right of representation in the legislation, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. Y'all get that? Y'all see the point? What's happening here? Next paragraph. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant. Let me scroll down. I'm having a problem with my cursor. Let me scroll down. And distant from the despotory of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with measures. Did y'all hear that? For the sole purpose of fatiguing them, making them tired, wearing them out, making it difficult so they just give up and say, well, we'll just give into it, right? All right. He has dissolved this. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. Let me repeat this. Read it again. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasions from without and convulsions from within. So let's continue. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount of payment of their salaries. So let's continue. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. Okay. He has erected a multitude of new offices. Y'all, I hope you all are getting this. And sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat our substance. Okay, he harassed people and basically made it a situation where they couldn't get food. Okay, and they used government to do it. I hope you can see this. Open your eyes. He has kept among us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. All right, give me a second, y'all, to get my breath together. Okay, give me 1 second, please. All right, start in 1 second. Okay, so, all right. All right, so here we are. So I'll start here. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial, for punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. Let me read it again. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. That means the government stopped them from being able to trade. For imposing taxes on us without our consent. Read it again. For imposing taxes on us without our consent. For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. Y'all see that? For pretended offenses. For abolishing the free system of English laws, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. Note the absolute rule. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government. I'll read that again. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws. That's a capital L. You don't understand that? Come to our Saturday classes, 9 a.m. You can learn what that means. You can learn about grammar. Abolishing our most valuable laws and altering fundamentally the forms of our government. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. Now notice, he's not speaking about what you think about this. What kind of war is it that he's talking about? He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. Okay. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. So again, he's destroying their ability to engage in commerce and to what? To earn a living, right? To earn a living so that they can eat and live a normal life. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy. What is that? Scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. All right. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves at their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us. and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. The merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. Y'all see that? All right. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant. Okay, so the main gripe that they had was that the king became a tyrant, and everybody who worked for him, they were tyrants. Okay, that's the main gripe. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which define a tyrant is unfit to be ruler of a free people. Okay, tyrants. So the government became tyrants. What defines tyrant? Well, we read it in the first couple paragraphs, and we've been reading it since, right? Basically, the king took away their natural rights, right? So here we are. Nor have we been wanting in attendance to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislator to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. So learn what immigration is as opposed to immigration, I versus E. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. Consanguinity is blood relation. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war. In peace, friends. All right, in peace, friends. See, there's no in between. Okay, enemies in war, in peace, friends. Right. Next paragraph. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled. United States of America in General Congress assembled. That has meaning. If you don't know, you should check it out. Appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions due in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Let me read that again. For all of the cowards, you cowards, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. So you cowards should think about this, right? And that's the end of the document, signed by John Hancock, New Hampshire, Josiah Bartlett, W.M. Wimple, Matthew Thornton, Massachusetts Bay, Robert Treat Payne, Eldridge Gary, Samuel Adams, John Adams from Rhode Island, William Elderly, and Stephen Hopkins. All right. And it goes on and on with many more signatures. So let me slow this so everybody can take a look at these signatures. All right, so these are the signatures on the Declaration of Independence. These are notes. Let's see, note, Mr. Ferdinand Jefferson, keeper of the rolls of the Department of State at Washington, says, the names of the signees are split above as in facsimile of the original, but the punctuation of them is not always the same. Neither do the names of the states appear in facsimile of the original. The names of the signers of each state are grouped together in the facsimile of the original, except the name of Matthew Thornton, which follows that of Oliver Wolcott. All right, so for those of you who have never read the Declaration of Independence, congratulations. You just read through it if you read along with me. Some of you have probably never read through this your whole entire life. But there it is. That's the Declaration of Independence. It was an act of courage. Men put their lives on the line, knowing that if they did not win, they would be killed. They would lose everything, but they did it anyway. And these were not in the main white people, okay? They were not in the main quote unquote white people, right? They were not. These were indigenous Americans, or some people would say Moors, right? These were indigenous Americans who did this, okay? Regardless of what, I don't like to use the word tribe, regardless of what indigenous nation you came from, these were not the so-called white Europeans, right? All right, so if you're feeling afraid, you're afraid to stand up for yourself during these difficult times because you have something to lose and you're afraid to lose it. And I don't know, I'm not only talking about property, I'm talking about your life, right? Life and property. You should reflect on the American tradition, which is put on paper and pen in the Declaration of Independence, okay? Other people did it, you can too, if you so choose to. Okay, I just want to read this paragraph here before we close out, okay? Now, I want to start here. I want to close out with these words, okay? With these two paragraphs. And then we'll end this video. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among them the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impelled them to separate. And these are the famous words that everybody's familiar with. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Unalienable rights means they cannot be bought, they cannot be sold, they cannot be taken away from you, but you can voluntarily give them up if you're scared, right? That among these are what? You have a right to life, you have a right to liberty, to move freely wherever you want to do, right? Be in charge of your own life. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or the pursuit of property. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men. The purpose of government is to secure, not give, to secure your natural rights given to you by the Creator, okay? Governments are instituted, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Y'all hear that? Deriving their just powers from the consent of the other. See, you have to agree. You have to consent. You have to agree. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them, that's to the people, as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety, and happiness or property. All right, so with that said, I'm going to end this video. I hope everybody got something from it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from this video. All right. As to the people, as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety. So Shalawama, I'm Dr. Yasapa. I want to invite you to the I want to invite you to enroll in the 101, the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. Okay, this course is almost free. I'm basically giving it away. Let me show you my screen. This is going to help you learn. This course is going to help you learn our language, and you'll never ever find anything in the price range that I'm going to share, that I'm providing this with. And the reason why, so this is zionlawschool.org. Go to the website, go to course offerings and click on course offerings in the menu. In the course library, you're going to see 101 Ancient Ibaryath, which is here. Click on this course. Right, you see it says $1 for 1-day trial, no doctrine. All right, so this is a Hebrew self-study course. You can do this course at home. It's $1 for a 1-day trial. There's no doctrine in here. This is a fun course, a stimulating course. It'll keep your attention. It's only $10 per month if you should decide to enroll. A course like this course in particular, the market value of this course is easily $8,000 to $10,000. Go out to some Hebrew school and see how much they're going to charge you just for one class, right? Price compare, and keep in mind, you'll be learning modern Hebrew, something that's not even yours. This is ours. This is ancient, okay? So you'll get the real thing with this course. If you go learn modern Hebrew or any of that other stuff, you're not getting what they claim it is. I hope that's clear. So for $1, you get a 1-day trial. There's 113 lessons. You can take as many of these lessons as you want within that 1 day. If you decide to subscribe, and I'm absolutely sure, I'm completely confident that you'll subscribe, because this course is something that you're going to want to keep for years to come, literally for years to come. It is so much information packed in this course. This is going to help you tremendously with your understanding of scripture, with your reading comprehension, and everything else. I mean, we have everything about the pictographs, everything about the grammar. This is an introductory course, okay? It is jam-packed with information. So again, it's $1 for a 1-day trial, 113 video lessons. You can take as many of them as you can within that 24-hour period. After that, you have the option to subscribe. I don't know if it automatically subscribes you, or you get an email asking if you want to subscribe. I don't know, but it is what it is, right? If you want to subscribe, subscribe. If you don't, cancel. You can cancel anytime. You can keep it for 1 year or 1 month and cancel. There's no contract whatsoever, right? So we go through all of the pictographs, all information about the pictographs, including the cultural context and the grammar. And we have a ton of word studies, and the word studies are absolutely phenomenal. Okay, they are amazing. The word studies are absolutely amazing. All right, so go to the website, enroll in this course, and so here's part 1. So these are some of the topics. The language of Ibaryath, the language of creation, blessings for learning Ibaryath, right? I read Deuteronomy 28 for you, so you can hear what it sounds like. What is Ibaryath, right? People get Ibaryath and modern Hebrew and biblical Hebrew and all of this other stuff confused. So what is it? Is learning Ibaryath a commandment? Why did they deceive us? Why were the documents altered, right? And so on and so forth. So part 1 is an introduction and background to what's coming in part 2 and 3, okay? And then we go through the historical component of the Ibaryath inscriptions, right? We talk about the changes. These changes are going to inform you about how Ibaryath was taken away, and then other languages were added in its place. Nowadays, it's modern Hebrew, okay? All right, and then to get into some of the controversies and things like that, we go through the Greek paradigm, the Hebrew paradigm, and then all of the pictographs. And then each pictograph, I give you vocabulary words in the Ibaryath, not in English, but in the Ibaryath. We go through all of them, right? And then in part 2, we go into the word studies. These word studies are absolutely amazing. I guarantee you, you have never seen or experienced anything like what you're going to experience when you go through these word studies, right? It's going to blow your mind when you go through these word studies. I promise you that. So you see all of these word studies in part 2, and then we go into the grammar, right? The Hebrew root word system. I teach you how words are formed, okay? This is a huge lesson. This is a huge course. We go into verbs. I teach you about verbs, about nouns. Everything is here, right? Everything is here. So you're getting everything. So go to the website, enroll in the course. And if you don't want to enroll, if you're not interested in taking the course, enroll anyway to support the work that I'm doing to get this information out. Every little bit helps. You see, I'm not charging, it's basically free, right? $1 for 1-day trial and $10 monthly. So if you think it's important for our people to learn our language, support now. Go to the website now, do it now. Don't wait until later. Go to the website and subscribe now. Secondly, I want to invite you to our Saturday morning 9 a.m. course where I teach the curses. Right now we are on Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 20. And we do a word for word evaluation and analysis. Okay, every word in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 29 for this course. Okay, so we go word from word, and every word we break down into its component parts, and we discuss their meanings and why. Okay, not just the meaning, but why, so that you understand, so that you become competent, right? We look at this from an etymological and a grammatical point of view. In other words, we are using linguistics. We don't consider doctrine. There's no doctrine, okay? There's no Hebrew Israelite doctrine. There's no Christian doctrine. There's no Judaism doctrine, no doctrine whatsoever. We just look at it in terms of its literary meaning using linguistics and grammar and etymology. And then we correlate these things with history when needed or when useful. And that's it. And I present a step-by-step, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's how it's explained. That's how I explain it. So the book for this course is I Can Read Deuteronomy chapter 28, volume 3. We do it step by step by step. And I explain. The co-scholars are excellent. The batch of scholars that we have right now are excellent. Everyone helps each other. Everyone is extremely respectful and honorable when dealing with each other. So this is a wonderful environment. But I want to say this to those of you who are sensitive or who want confirmation of your beliefs, you should not enroll, or you should not come to this class, because you will not get that here, okay? And I don't want you to be offended if you come in. We look at everything from a literary point of view. So now here's the good news. You can come for 2 classes for free. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to enroll. But what you do have to do, on your first day, you have to subscribe to the Patreon, because I want you to have access to the audio recordings of the class. You need to have the audio recordings to the class, okay? So you have to do that the very first day of class. You have to subscribe to the Patreon so you can get those audio channels, the audio recordings. So the link for that is in the description box of this video. In fact, the link for the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course and the 506, this course, the Saturday course is 506. 506, the curses course, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 29. The link is in the description box. So with that, I'm Dr. Yasapa with Zion Law School, Shalawama. Have a great day ahead, or a good night wherever you are in whatever part of the world you are